Well, it may sound like a broken record on this channel, but Disney obviously has announced a lot of things that they plan on doing at the theme parks in the coming years. And one of those things, which I completely am against, is replacing the Rivers of America and adding in a Cars based IP land inside of Frontierland that would remove the Rivers of America. And we made a video maybe a month ago, something like that. And we talked about how the state of Florida was asking for some additional information in terms of environmental impact studies and things due to the wetlands that are connected to the Rivers of America, and that Disney, I believe, had 90 days at that point to respond to their requests, and there was no guarantee, obviously, that they were going to approve the permit for this. But now it seems like Disney has 10 days to fix the Rivers of America permit application, or it is going to face a rejection. So we have an article here from Blog Mickey talking about this. So we're going to read through a little bit of it and give some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. The state of Florida's Water Management District has sent Walt Disney World a notice that Disney's permit application for work on the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island is incomplete and facing rejection. The letter says that Walt Disney World has 10 days to provide a complete application, or the permit application will be rejected. If the permit is rejected, work cannot begin. It says a new letter from the South Florida Water Management District notifies Disney World that its application for early work on the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island remains incomplete. The permit outlines early preparations of the Rivers of America area and nearby forested areas to provide for construction, laydown yards, and other associated demolition. It says the additional information requested by letter on September 11th, 2024 has not been received by South Florida Water Management District. If you are not ready to submit a complete response, you may voluntarily withdraw the application prior to the application being denied. Should you fail to fully submit the requested information or to withdraw the information or withdraw the application within 10 days of the date of this letter, the application will be considered incomplete and district staff will process the application for denial without prejudice to your right to reapply at a later time. It says here, in the permit screenshot below, we can see Disney's plans for 3 laydown yards west and north of the Rivers of America. The laydown yards will impact swamp-like areas near the Walt Disney World Railroad, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and the Rivers of America. These laydown areas will be used to support construction of 2 Cars-themed attractions, which, makes complete sense in Frontierland. Sarcastic there. If you don't pick up on sarcasm, I'm being a bit sarcastic there. As part of an expanded area of Frontierland, and eventually the Villains-themed land north and west of the Haunted Mansion. They said, we first called out the permit hiccups back in September, and Disney World has not filed any updates to the permit application since then. The original permit was filed back in August, shortly after the project were announced at the D23 Expo. And if we look at what the state was asking for in terms of the updated application, they say here, Walt Disney World received a request for additional information letter from the South Florida Water Management District on September 11th. This letter was delivered via email to a Walt Disney World employee with employees at Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and other companies copied. The 6-page letter outlines 20 requests from the state, including a seemingly significant change of the permit type from an individual environmental resource permit into a conceptual permit, with broader construction implications and additional information about the work that Walt Disney World will be doing. Broadly speaking, the RAI asked Disney to provide updated information about construction that will happen after this phase of development and how it will impact water quality in the area. The RAI also asked Disney to demonstrate that they have pursued alternative site plans to reduce the impact on wetland functions. Other information that the state is seeking includes wildlife studies and potential impacts to protected species and any mitigation plans. The state would also like to complete a field inspection to verify wetland delineation for the project. And in it, they also says one of the points of concern that was highlighted as being a concern to the staff is that of the hydro period, or period of time in which it takes a particular area to flood. Staff said that they were concerned that the finished elevations would adversely impact the hydro period of the surrounding wetlands, and they have asked for graphs that would display the pre-development hydrology and the post-development hydrology. The state is also requesting information on dewatering operations, noting that the initial application appears to indicate that dewatering will take place. It's likely that they are referring to the draining of the Rivers of America. The The state said that any surface water applications will not be considered complete until information is received about the likely dewatering activities. In total, the state is requesting a lot of information from Disney before they can even consider approving the application. At that time, they had 90 days to respond, and it doesn't seem like they have responded yet. So in terms of, what's going on with this and how this is going to impact what Disney wants to do, it's really hard to know. If you look up how long does an environmental study take, it can take days or a month. Like, there's no word on if Disney has done any of the things that the state's requesting, if they came in and looked at stuff. So it's hard to know really where Disney stands. I have a feeling if Disney hasn't done any of this, which I don't know why they wouldn't, it's really hard to know. But if they haven't done any of this, I have a feeling they'll withdraw the permit, because I don't think they would want it getting out that it was rejected, because I think that would be probably bad press. Or you're looking at a scenario where they've done these and they're going to have to significantly change some of their plans here. So again, who knows with this? They got 10 days. I guess we'll find out within a week and a half as to how this is going to go. But I have a feeling if they haven't done this stuff that they'll just, pull that permit and refile it in a different way. But given that the state was asking for pretty significant changes to this, it does seem that there are some significant snags in their plan here. Now, this is probably one of the only times I'll ever sit there and cheer on government bureaucracy in terms of, slowing things down. But I, for one, have stated multiple times on this channel, I'm not a fan of putting the Cars attraction in this area. I love Frontierland. It has a direct connection to Walt. I think the Rivers of America provide a great ambiance for the entire area there. And I know people will say it's a river, nobody goes there. The steamboat doesn't, none of the people do it. And I'm not arguing that it has loads of people doing it, or like Tom Sawyer Island. But what I'm saying is the rivers themselves, the steamboat, like, it sets a tone for that entire area, that the surrounding areas, Liberty Square, Frontierland, Big Thunder Mountain, all that stuff, it's one of those things that it elevates those lands due to the ambiance and what it does here. And also, I understand if you put a Cars attraction in here, it is going to be a bigger draw. I'm not arguing that. But this is one of those times where I say there's a difference between a theme park and an amusement park. And an amusement park, you're just trying to stuff in as many things as you can do in an area because, have more things to do. But a theme park is supposed to set a tone, create a story, immerse you. And I think the Rivers of America immerse you into Frontierland, or what it was supposed to be. I've often stated, and I think Disney would like to get rid of Frontierland. I don't think it really fits with modern day Disney, which I do find sad, because again, if you look up Walt and how much he loved the Old West, it was something that Walt really loved and was something really important to him. And I don't like seeing aspects, especially like Walt stuff, being pulled from the parks. And I know it's not the original one, Disneyland was, but it's just one of those things where I think a Cars attraction is not a bad idea. Don't get me wrong. I think a Cars attraction can work, but I just don't understand why you would put it here in the first place, because googly-eyed cartoon cars in Frontierland to me makes no sense in terms of theming. I think if you're going to put this in Magic Kingdom anywhere, you'd put it in Tomorrowland Speedway in that area. You've got a pretty big space in there. Now, you wouldn't have enough space to do an entire land, but you could also just expand it behind Big Thunder Mountain, which originally was the rumor or idea that they had, kind of next to Villain's Land. I think that would make a lot more sense, and I would be much more on board with that, personally speaking. But one of the main reasons that Disney, I think, wants to put this here is because the Rivers of America do need, from my understanding, they do need some work on the foundation areas. And Disney, I'm sure, looking at this says, why would we spend the money to fix the Rivers of America whenever it's not something that makes them direct money? It's not a direct draw. So we get rid of that, put a Cars-based attraction or land in here, and that's going to be a draw. So from their eyes, that's very much a spreadsheet management move about like just putting something in that's going to make us direct money. But at the same time, the state very well could sit there and say that you can't do that because of the direct environmental impacts it would have. So this is, again, one of the only times I'll sit there and say, if the Rivers of America is saved by government bureaucracy, I guess that's a win. I would much rather Disney say, hey, we listened to the fans' feedback and we're not going to do this. I know a lot of people wish Disney would say that. We're talking about Muppets area going away for Monsters, Inc. I think there's a lot of different areas of Disney that, the fans would like to hear Disney say, we hear your reaction and we're going to alter our plans here. Because I don't think a Monsters, Inc. land is a bad idea. I don't think a Cars-based land is necessarily a bad idea either. I think you could argue different IPs would make a little bit more sense, but I'm not against these ideas. It's just where they're going. And when Disney says they're expanding, what they typically mean and what they mean here is we're removing things that you guys enjoy to be replaced with something else and not actually expanding out. Now, to be fair to them, they are expanding for Villain's Land, developing that land behind Big Thunder Mountain there. Really hard to know at this point where it stands. Disney could tomorrow sit there and say they applied for all this stuff and it gets approved, but I have a feeling looking at this, if it's been almost 90 days, we haven't heard anything from it. I don't know. Maybe Disney's dragging their feet on this in terms of what to do. Maybe they're sort of thinking about different ways to alter it. Maybe they're working with the state. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they are working with people from the state to figure out what they need to do, what they can do, what they're going to approve. Like, Disney's a major corporation. I'm sure that the government would be more than willing to talk to them, to tell them, hey, this is likely to get approved, this is likely not to get approved, sort of things like that. Now, in terms of it actually being safe, I don't really know if that's realistic. I would like to hear that. It's probably at this point not, but it could be altered significantly. Now, there is, if you look at the concept art, there is some sort of water, a body of water in the plans that they did reveal for this Cars area. So it's possible that maybe parts of the rivers of America get, preserved, which I had argued the whole time would make a lot of sense to do that. Now, I think if it's rejected, they can reapply. I don't think there's anything that says they can't reapply for a certain amount of days or anything like that. So more than likely, this is just going to be delayed, which, again, I've often stated Disney's construction timelines are long anyways. And once you add in the fact that they just, I think as of today or yesterday, they said that Dinosaur is going to be the ride Dinosaur in Animal Kingdom, where they're going to do the Tropical Americas. That ride is going to be open through 2025. So it seems like a lot of these construction timelines, as Disney typically tends to do, is going to get dragged out longer and longer. And again, when you're talking about these things being essentially an answer for Epic Universe on Disney's end, which they will deny till they're blue in the face, but it clearly is them trying to answer for Epic Universe. I've often contended the longer, their construction timelines being longer, they're going to give Epic Universe 5+ years potentially of a free run to have whatever impact that's going to have on the market without really anything coming from Disney in terms of new attractions to try and counter that. And with that train of thought here, this is just more than likely going to take even longer before construction even begins. And this was just initially for the permits to basically do the groundwork for it. This wasn't even the work for the actual Cars-based attraction, which the state was saying they wanted to know, hey, after this, what are your other plans here? And some people have pointed to Disney's fight with Florida. I don't really know if that's had anything to do with it. I'm not going to claim to know one way or the other. You're talking about environmental agencies, which can get very nitpicky about certain things. So who knows in terms of it's anything like that. I don't really think it's probably much to do with that. Probably is something to do with the wetlands area, or maybe somebody in the state is a giant fan of the rivers of America and they're determined to save it. I don't know. Probably not. But either way, Disney has 10 days from this point to change their permit application, or it will be rejected, or they withdraw it. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with that. And when we find out anything, we'll make a video here about it. But for the time being, that's where it stands with the Rivers of America, with its eventual or proposed transition into a Cars-based attraction. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen with this permit with the state? And do you think the Rivers of America might end up being saved by bureaucracy? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.